State Police announcing the arrest of a suspect within the last hour who's believed to be involved in a double homicide in Danby that happened more than 30 years ago. Police tell Michael Anthony Lewis was arrested at his home in Syracuse on Tuesday for 2 counts of second-degree murder.
The Salina for decades, finally arrested yesterday for the murder of his mother-in-law and father-in-law.
The unbelievable discovery, solving the oldest cold case in history, the Peacock Murders, 1989. After 30 long years, a cold case that had baffled investigators was finally solved. Join us on a journey into the past as we unravel the mystery behind one of the oldest cold cases in history, the Peacock Murders of 1989. In this video, we'll take you through the unbelievable discovery that led to the breakthrough in this fascinating case, and the twists and turns of the investigation that finally brought justice to the victims. From the crime scene to the courtroom, we'll explore every detail of this compelling case and the dedicated detectives who refuse to give up on solving it. Get hooked as we uncover the truth behind the Peacock Murders, a story you won't soon forget. Let's dive into today's case without wasting time. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video. This is one of the most chilling cases that has happened in the past.
Salina detained locally today and will make his first court appearance right here in downtown Syracuse.
An arrest in a 1989 cold case, according to Vermont State Police, gives them hope. They add that it inspires detectives and other professionals working on challenging issues to keep pursuing the closure of old files. Those who have lived in tranquil Danby for a time still recall the horror that engulfed the neighborhood in September 1989, when George and Catherine Peacock were discovered fatally stabbed in their home. According to authorities, there were no signs of a break-in, and nothing was taken. Colette Ersha, the Danby assistant town clerk, remembered it as a catastrophe. 4 days after the murder, on September 17, 1989, a worried neighbor saw George Peacock, 76, lying in a pool of blood by his front door, and quickly realized Catherine Peacock, 73, was also dead upstairs in their Route 7 home in Danby. Both had been stabbed repeatedly. In announcing the arrest, state police noted no indications of a forced entry or that anything substantial had been taken from the home.
You had 2 choices. You can consent to return to Vermont or fight the extradition. Based upon our conversation, he decided he wants to get to Vermont to contest the charges as soon as possible.
Town clerk of Danby since 1980, Janice Arnold, remembers the ominous police presence in the days after the murders. She claimed that the state's attorney for Rutland County organized a public gathering soon after to examine the issue and reassure the locals that the killings had not been random. The person, who authorities claim has always been the main suspect in the 1989 stabbing deaths of his in-laws at their Danby home, has been detained by Vermont and New York State Police. Using DNA analysis, police claim to have solved a long-standing cold case by connecting the suspect's father-in-slain-law's father to a bloodstain discovered inside the suspect's car. 79-year-old Michael Anthony Lewis was apprehended on Thursday at a Syracuse, New York residence, according to a press release from the Vermont State Police. While awaiting extradition to Vermont and New York, Lewis is imprisoned on 2 second-degree murder charges. State Police Detective Sergeant Samuel Truke's 27-page affidavit details more than 30 years' worth of evidence in the case, including Lewis's guilty conscience in the days after the killing, his horrifying criminal record, and the increasing discrediting of his original alibi. Arnold claims that there was speculation that someone affiliated with the family might have been a suspect at the time. Soon after his in-laws were discovered dead, Lewis, who was married to Penny, one of the Peacock's daughters, caught the attention of the police. It was unclear from the affidavit if Lewis and Penny were still legally wed. In the affidavit, Truke stated that less than 2 weeks after the deaths were found, Lewis left his home, leaving a message implying that he would be committing suicide and bringing a gun. He was afraid that authorities would pin the killings on him. Lewis later told the police that his nerves were shot and he couldn't think of sleep much since the murder happened. He informed his family that he intended to admit himself to a hospital for mental health treatment. On the day of the murder, Lewis had told his wife he planned to drive from their New York residence to her parents' home in Danby, information that both of them first hid from authorities, according to the affidavit. Luis later revealed to authorities that he had made the almost 400-mile round drive from Syracuse to Danby on September 13th, the day of the murder, on a whim to retrieve some particle boards he had stored there. Luis claimed that once he arrived in Saratoga Springs, he abandoned the plan and turned around to return home. According to the affidavit, when asked by police if he had ever considered passing out while driving to Danby and killing the Peacocks, Luis said he had, but he finally denied the claim. When Luis's niece was questioned by police more than 3 years after the killings, she recalled that Luis had previously informed family members that he remembered taking the drive to Vermont on the day of the massacre, but drawn a blank about what happened then. Police subsequently informed the niece that Luis had served time in prison for the 1966 rape of a 4-year-old girl in Rhode Island, a crime he claimed to have committed without memory. According to the affidavit, Luis described his journey to Vermont using the same terminology he had used to describe the sexual assault in 1966, as the niece recalled. Investigators identified Michael Luis as the perpetrator of the double murder as a result of George Peacock's blood being found in Luis's car and other circumstantial evidence, according to Trueck's affidavit. According to the affidavit, the blood stain had been retested in 2000, but the results could have been more meaningful.
Advancements in DNA technology are credited for the arrest. In May of 2020, forensic testing confirmed a DNA match to his father-in-law.
Trueck's turned in the blood sample for examination in May 2020, and the state's forensic laboratory produced its finding in October, which connected the sample to George Peacock. The blood sample had previously undergone testing, but the results could have been more precise. The arrest, according to the police, was the result of a lengthy investigation that lasted more than 33 years and involved investigators and cold case experts. State police announced in a news release that Michael Anthony Luis, 79, was detained on 2 counts of second-degree murder in the murders of George Peacock, 76, and Catherine Peacock, 73, on Thursday, October 13, 2022, in Syracuse, New York. The arrest received assistance from the New York State Police. If Luis has a lawyer was not immediately known. Although extradition proceedings to Vermont, where he will be charged, are ongoing, Luis is being held in a New York jail. When he is brought back to Vermont to answer, the charges are unknown. The Peacock Murders of 1989 will forever be remembered as one of history's most gruesome and mysterious cases. The brutal murders of the Peacock family, one of the wealthiest families in Vermont, sent shockwaves through the nation and beyond. For years, investigators and amateur detectives wondered who could have committed such a heinous crime and why. However, the case was solved decades later in an unbelievable turn of events. In 2022, a breakthrough in forensic technology allowed investigators to analyze evidence from the crime scene that had previously been deemed useless. This new analysis led to identifying a suspect who was eventually apprehended and charged with the murders. The case had been cold for so long that it seemed impossible to solve. The discovery of new evidence, combined with the dedication and persistence of law enforcement, finally allowed justice to be served for the Peacock family. The resolution of the case was a relief not only for the families and friends of the victims, but for the public as a whole, who had been left wondering for so long what could have happened on that fateful night in 1989. The Peacock Murders will also be remembered for the lessons that can be learned from the investigation. The case highlighted the importance of preserving evidence, no matter how insignificant it may seem at the time. It also showed that even the most complex and unsolvable issues could be cracked with the right tools and techniques. The advancements in forensic technology that allowed for the case to be solved are a testament to the power of science and the importance of continued research in the field. As we reflect on the Peacock Murders and their eventual resolution, we can't help but think about the case's impact on the world. It reminded us of life's fragility, justice's power, and the importance of perseverance. It also showed us that sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, and that the most unbelievable discoveries can be made when we least expect them. In conclusion, the Peacock Murders is one of the most remarkable cases ever. This case left investigators stumped for decades, but it was eventually solved through new technology and old-fashioned detective work. The resolution of the issue brought closure for the families of the victims and the public. It also reminded us of the importance of science and perseverance and the power of truth.